going nowhere.
Then there's no. I'm looking at you, Jake.
I'm going to hear the name and I'm going to get PTSD.
But the cream will rise to the top for you.
You know, I hate to go back to that type of mentality. I really do, because the game overall just isn't. It's going away from that, and they wanted that. The Derek Boogaard and Rick Rippon deaths were the worst things that could have happened to the NHL. It exposed CTE. It exposed the fact that they needed to get away from all the fighting and the goonery and all that other garbage. It was a big black eye, and I say it's the worst thing that could have happened because it painted a real bad light on the NHL. Not that it changed everything, because I think it changed a lot of things for the good. It got a lot of unskilled players that didn't belong at that level out of the game. No offense to those guys; they're probably great guys. They have families they're trying to support, but we didn't need the good. I mean, of course, who doesn't love a good fight, a good Donnybrook or a brawl, or whatever you want to. Fisticuffs or whatever you want to refer to it as, but it's time to move past that. It's an antiquated past. This game is a skill game played based on speed and puck possession. And you know what? Getting crap like Tom Wilson out of the game is the best thing for everybody. But you have to punish players like that. You have to stop punishing the outcome. Punish the action itself. First-time offenders that do things like that should get a 5-game minimum suspension. No pay. Then you do that, something like that again, go to 15 or 20 games. Start sending a message. And they fail to do it all the time. And that's why this stuff continues to and will continue to happen if no changes are made. And that's why I love this statement. And that's why I'm even more baffled by the fact that the team's GM and general manager, the general manager and the president were so embarrassed to have made that statement. Like, what kind of message are you sending to the organization, its fans, and the players? What by distancing yourself from that? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, you don't want to go backwards. Like, I'm not saying I want 1980s hockey where everything is just 8-8, 8-8, 8-7, 7-6 every game. But what we have going right now is a nice balance. And you know what? Maybe they could cut down a little bit on the size of the goaltending pads or something like that, or do something to counteract that. But you know what? This game is a better product than it was years ago, without guys like Peter Worrell and Steve McKenna and like I said, Jesse Bulris or like a Junior Lassard or a Francis Lassard or someone like that. Like, you don't need guys like that playing. They don't have a place in this game. Dudes and stuff like that. There's just no more place for it. And I don't get how two people that high up in the organization could be so against something that was released for the better of the game. So it's time for every other team in the league to back up the Rangers on this. It's time. The Islanders have to do it. The Islander fans have been great in this, by the way, Anthony. Like, I've seen almost nothing, aside from that clown that I had to block on Facebook that you tagged me in, nothing but class from Islander fans, from Devil fans, from Pittsburgh Penguin fans. They've been probably the biggest supporter of the Rangers in this, because they hate Tom Wilson. So the Pittsburgh Penguin fans, shout out to you guys. All the other fans across the NHL that want to see this guy punished, shout out. You know what? If the voice gets loud enough to the point where they can't ignore it, maybe there can be a change made.
Anthony, take it over. Take it. I thought I had something.
Well, I think. I mean, John is right. There's no place in the game for goonery. He mentioned a lot of players, but that was their sole purpose. Like Eric Goddard was another one. Like players like that, you don't need in your lineup to deter a guy like Tom Wilson or to take him out after after he does something questionable. You need to have your team should be built right now. Like, I mean, I'll use the example of the Islanders. Their line of Martin, Cizikas, and Clutterbuck. I mean, Cizikas and Clutterbuck are smaller guys, but I can tell you without hesitation that even Clutterbuck would have smacked Wilson in the face if he did that to Barzal or anybody on the Islanders. So I think the Rangers, getting back to them and what Chris Drury could do, one of those members of that line is a free agent. Casey Cizikas would give the Rangers plenty of jam in the bottom six.
Casey Cizikas would not stop the Tom Wilson incident.
What?
Casey Cizikas would not stop the Tom Wilson incident.
No.
I'm not saying specifically stopping Tom Wilson, but he would bring an overall grittier game to the Rangers and what they need to reconstruct their bottom six. Yeah, sure, he's not gonna physically, he can't impose Wilson, but don't sell him short. He's a feisty player for his size. He wouldn't run scared from Tom Wilson. Him too. If he boarded a player, he could throw a shoulder into Wilson, no question. So, but that's the type of players that the Rangers need to have. They can play the game of hockey, but they can also be physical, and they'll also punish you physically. And that's the type of line or trio that the Rangers could use in their bottom six to make them a more rounded team. So, but as far as Tom Wilson goes, George Johnson before deterrence, Lucic was on the ice with that hit with Savard. But what a guy like that will do is, like, after Wilson does something stupid, he's going to have to answer to the bell to that guy, and that's the thing that would help teams to have. So Wilson knows he has to answer the bell to somebody. I mean, the thing about Wilson, though, is he skates away from guys that we do want to challenge him. Ryan Reeves wants to beat the snot out of him. Wilson tries to skate away. So that's the unfortunate part. But listen,
Sean Avery used to do that, by the way.
Who?
Yeah,
Sean Avery.
Oh yeah, well, but Sean Avery. No. Let's not put Sean Avery in the same sentence as Tom Wilson, because what Tom Wilson does is go well and beyond the code of honor and respect that players have amongst one another. Tom Wilson has no regard for that, and that's why this is not going to change. It's not going to change unless you either you put down a severe punishment on this guy and say, hey, this is your last chance. Like, you're not going to have another chance after this. Like, either you clean your act up and you stop this garbage, or you're gone. Because it ain't going to change with a guy like Tom Wilson if you keep giving him taps on the wrist like this. It's not. And Sean Avery was a shit disturber. He was a fire starter.
yeah.
But Sean Avery didn't do the things that Tom Wilson did.
No.
What? Go ahead.
I put Avery in the same category as like a Clutterbuck, a shit disturber, a pet. He'll chirp you. He'll get under your skin.
Yeah.
That type of play. There's nowhere like Tom Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. And people mention Sean Avery's name and stuff like that. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, did you not watch Sean Avery then? I mean, but here's the thing. What this is begging for is to go back to a time where you had incidents like Luke Richardson and Dino Ciccarelli swinging their damn swords at sticks at each other like they were swords, like it was like Tim Dr. Hook McCracken in Slapshot. Like, does the NHL really want this on a new TV deal with ESPN and TNT? I think that's terrible publicity for them.
And you're right about that, because it even is romanticized. Look at the movie Youngblood.
Carl Racky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really want a guy like Carl Racky around? No.
And I think people are defending Wilson because of his skill. If Tom Wilson was Sandy McCarthy, or if Tom Wilson was Eric Goddard, I can almost guarantee you that there would be so much more backlash against him. But the fact that he could play hockey and he's an effective player, believe me, that goes into a large part of the reason why so many people are saying, oh well, Tom Wilson didn't do anything wrong, or all these GMs would love to have Tom Wilson on their team. But that shouldn't matter. It shouldn't. I'll make this analogy. If Connor McDavid, as good as he is, if he did the same shit Tom Wilson did, my feelings wouldn't change. I would say Connor McDavid needs to be laid out, or he needs to be suspended for a long time. Skill shouldn't have anything to do with that. If you're a scumbag, you're a scumbag. Whether you skate like McCarthy or whether you skate like McDavid. So but it's just frustrating that Wilson almost gets a pass because of his ability to play hockey, and he's not a full goon.
Okay. In response to that, this is where when people want to say Barry Bonds shouldn't have taken steroids, it's blah blah blah. He was going to be a Hall of Famer anyway. Gary Cohen made this statement one time, which is, I look at Barry Bonds and he's an American tragedy because he never needed to take these steroids, and he never needed to be this player, and now he's cheating the game, and now he'll never make the Hall of Fame. So why am I analogizing that with Tom Wilson? Is because Tom Wilson doesn't need to be this piece of shit. He can be a good player. He could be, closer to Todd Bertuzzi on the ice instead of Todd Bertuzzi off the ice, which was the suspension. I mean, he doesn't need to do this stuff. And instead, he's definitely the dirtiest player of the last decade. Beating out Ralphie Torres, arguably now in the 21st century. And I think the real reason, we were talking about it before, it's because he has a Stanley Cup ring. That's it.
I don't think that really has anything to do with it. I think the problem is that there is a stigma in the NHL. I think there is an absolute stigma of the old hot frat boy mentality that goes around that says that, it's okay to take cheap shots at people and all of that, and it's a part of the game.
Did you like that video? Of course you did. So why not check out some more of our content? You can check the playlist right here or right here.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.